Move on to Professor Kristyan Spelman Miller, who's the Pro Vice Chancellor for Education at Keele University. Kristyan has been Pro Vice Chancellor since July 2021. She has many years of experience, having held senior positions at the universities of Liverpool, Reading and Winchester prior to joining Keele. She leads on transforming the educational experience through inspiring curriculum design, teaching and assessment practice, and excellent learning environments. In 2022-23, she served with the Office for Students as a Teaching Excellence Framework panel member, and she is a strong advocate for the importance of students gaining international perspectives and learning opportunities outside of the classroom. And we're delighted to have Chris today to talk about educational gains and emerging case study. So thank you very much indeed, Chris.
Thank you very much. And again, I think Libby's going to control me from a distance with just the opening slide. Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you very much indeed for the opportunity to join the group today. It's really nice to see many familiar faces and names, and really looking forward to the discussion. In fact, I think rather selfishly, this is probably going to be particularly helpful for me as we continue to move through our thinking around educational gain. So really looking forward to the conversation later and following on from Dilly's presentation. I seem to have lost on my screen at least the opening slide. So I don't know, Rosie, if you're able to pop that back on again.
I just thought that I'd lost it as well, Chris. So I think we'll just get that back.
Thank you.
There we go.
Perfect. Yeah, lovely. So I think I just wanted to sort of start with the following the experience really of the recent TEF. What from an institutional perspective, the opportunities that we had really then to which we didn't fully appreciate at the time, really, to step back and reflect on who we are as an institution, how well we are geared to the learning experiences of all of our different students, really to dig beneath the metrics, as Dilly has just articulated, to arrive at that much more rounded and truer understanding of our strengths and weaknesses as an institution. And really to search for and triangulate the evidence from many different sources. And this is particularly true, I think, in our attempt to address the challenge of educational gain, looking at the whole array of things that we have available to us in terms of qualitative and quantitative information to really build that truer and richer picture of educational excellence. And I think the experience certainly around educational gain, as we all institutionally were struggling with the exam question, if you like, was to do that stepping back and the connecting of a fairly disparate set of activities and data which we naturally collect as part of our institution around student success, but to allow ourselves then to put everything out on the table as a bit of a buffet, really, and then through the process of submission towards the TEF 2023, to then decide exactly where our focus is and what that should be. So I'm going to be talking a little bit as a case study here. It's very much an emerging case study of that process and that journey that we went on for TEF 2023. But also ongoing now as we move into the next iteration of TEF, how we are thinking through. So there's a little bit of showing our workings here, and I hope that may be useful as a very genuine and honest reflection on some of the challenges that we've got institutionally in trying to identify, as I said, from the buffet on the table, exactly how we're going to move forward in our understanding and sharpen up our focus. So I thought just before I move into that showing our workings from a Keele perspective, I would just, for the benefit perhaps of those who aren't very familiar with Keele, say a little bit briefly about who we are. So Keele, as you can see from the map, is in North Staffordshire, midway between Birmingham and Manchester, and very close to Stoke-on-Trent. We're a largely campus-based institution with 13,000 or so students, with a dominant course offer being undergraduate, very strong foundation provision, and a growing range of other offers around degree apprenticeship, short courses, skills boot camps, etc. A small amount of PGT online, and also TNE. And we're actually a pre-92 institution, a dual intensive university with disciplines across 3 very diverse faculties, from medicine through natural sciences and arts, humanities and social sciences. And we refer to our positioning really as part of the golden triangle, or quadrangle, I should say, really, of 15 universities in England that perform highly on both teaching as a gold awarded institution in TEF 2023, but also with high research intensity in the most recent research excellence framework. So just on the next slide, a quick word about our population. These are old data now, but just to demonstrate the kind of diversity of our provision, as I've mentioned, largely undergraduate focused, very small international, and in terms of demographics, a very even distribution across here. I've demonstrated here with the polar 4 quintiles, about very much spread across those the 5 quintiles. About 40% of our UK intake is actually very regional, from the West Midlands, with about 35% or so from Black, Asian and mixed ethnicities. So that's us in terms of our kind of constitution, if you like. Just on the next slide, just to give again you a little bit of a visual image. We are very much campus based. This is a promotional slide really, so it is beautiful. It's actually a glorious campus. 630 acres of parkland and stately home, solar farm, and a number of lakes, etc. So we focus, as the next slide also suggests, very much on community, a very strong sense of physical community, as well as our broader diverse communities which may not be actually on campus. And then again on the next slide, a very strong commitment to sustainability, and that will come out, I think, in one of the areas of values that I will talk about in a moment around our educational gains. So then just moving into TEF, I put a couple of slides here which are probably very familiar to everybody in terms of the kind of learning that we've done following TEF 2023. The opportunity that we did have to reflect on our strengths and weaknesses and ambitions, and really the kind of action planning that I think we've probably all taken forward. Before we had our results, we actually set out a whole set of areas and themes where we had recognised that we needed to make improvements, and in all of these areas we are moving through. And the next slide also continues that kind of list of areas which I'm sure all of us are very much engaged with in terms of our next enhancement plan for our institutions. And I've included this because I think perhaps in all of these, one of the key areas for us was actually embedded in that number 16 on the slide there. The ability to understand deeply the starting points, behaviours, experiences of our students, and to be able to measure that at various touch points through their journey of success, obviously very much links into what we're talking about today in terms of our approach to gain. So I'm going to focus a little bit now on our approach there, as I say, to show a little bit of our workings, and to talk through some of the decisions and choices that we've made to make a manageable approach to measuring gain, and to make that work for the future. So in the next slide, like many institutions, I think our strategy it articulates, in a sense, success across those dimensions of academic, personal, and future success. And I think we wanted to keep coming back to the fact of our commitment to the diversity of our students and of their courses and the disciplines that our students are studying on, but keeping at our heart the focus on that range of different academic, personal, and professional development opportunities and success measures that we want to instill in our approach. So again, like many others, and the next slide demonstrate this, we have approached our student success through a framework of graduate attributes. This graphic just demonstrates the baskets of attributes, the key headings, the main headings of attributes, that we have 4 of those, which we use very much, and we weave through the fabric of our programme offer. And of course, those are then demonstrable through the learning outcomes, the achievement of learning outcomes on our programmes. But also, we use these graduate attributes to talk about the wider student experience. So, for example, in planning our induction activities for welcome, pre-arrival and welcome, we use these graduate attributes as the basis for describing the wider benefits and experiences that our students will gain from being at the university. And so these 4 areas of academic expertise, professional skills, personal effectiveness, and social and ethical responsibility. And that social and ethical does relate very much back to sustainability, as I've mentioned, as a key value which the institution is promoting. So I think just reflecting on the use of graduate attributes, not unusual at all in setting that as the basis really for how we want to go about describing the success across our students' experience. But I think what we hadn't really done until TEF 2023 was to systematically gather evidence really about what our learners, whatever their starting points, how they were going to be gaining those beyond the achievement on their courses. And so the opportunity to really think, what are we focusing on, and how are we going to measure those specific areas of attributes. So our thinking then led to, next slide, from these 4 areas of graduate attributes. You'll see in the next slide, we've identified, selected out specific attributes or areas of each of those 4 categories, which we feel are true and key to the educational experience at Keele. So we wanted to identify those which were meaningful, as well as being measurable and trackable. And these really focused on the professional element that we wanted to instill through our provision and experiences. Digital as being, again, a very key area of development that we see as part of being very much about being effective in both academic senses and also professionally for the future. The importance of global and social awareness, and linking back very much to our values and mission. And then finally, the academic confidence and growth that we expect our students to achieve. So in those areas, again, the next slide just unpacks a little bit more how we are, oops, sorry, slipped again. Thank you. How we are going about identifying particular areas for measurement. So we have just been going through a major curriculum redesign project, and that gives us the opportunity, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a moment, to ensure that all of our provision has a focus on skills development from both academic, personal and professional perspectives. And this is often through explicit modules across all years in the provision, which emphasises the development of experience, and that includes a lot of focus on experiential learning, placement opportunities, but also in curricular experiences around assessment and employer briefs and project opportunities and so on. And also an opportunity to reflect, and personal reflection is now provided very much as part of an increasingly significant part of the way in which our academic, personal and professional skills development is assessed in our modules. We also have, which Dilly has also mentioned, an academic mentoring or personal tutoring process, which, together with the availability of this skills development focus in our curriculum, gives us a really important anchor point for us to be able to track and measure the gains around these 4 areas of growth that we are identifying as our educational gains. So for each of those, I'll just very, very briefly say something about them. And as I say, in some cases, we are already very much, we have data we are measuring, and it's very much instilled in our processes. In some of the other areas, it's much more evolving, and there's work to do to ensure that by the time there's a next TEF, that we have a more rounded approach to the actual evidence base that we will be able to demonstrate. So I'll take the first area, and that is really on the next slide, around the global and social awareness. And I wanted to mention this because this is an institutional project to introduce a curriculum pathway to the vast majority of our undergraduate students at Keele, who can elect or to take one of 6 elective pathways, and they're listed here, which are all linked to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and they cover, as you see, social justice, climate change, global health, etc. And through this offer, over all 3 years of the undergraduate programme, students take part in one of these global challenge pathways. It's a 15-credit module at each level. And through this, and in particular through our quite extensive offer around languages, we see the opportunity to develop both interdisciplinary and global awareness and sensitivity to social and global positioning, if you like, of an individual, and the skills that are developed through these mechanisms, to really widen horizons for students who are studying often single honours provision. And this is a really important strategic project for the institution, and one which is pervasive because it's institution-wide. We have a very, very wide uptake, an unusually wide uptake of language study, and now an increasingly growing commitment through global challenge pathways to the development of interdisciplinary, often very applied, very collaborative activity, project-based and experiential work, which is a great opportunity really for us to demonstrate, and then to be able to support students to develop that global broad awareness. So that's on one of our approaches that we're taking, which is very much true to our intentions and our mission. Secondly, on the next slide, like many universities, I'm sure, we embed career registration, career readiness as a key area that allows us to revisit each year with our students the stages of their professional skills development, and to help them to plan. Again, these are very much tied into both academic mentoring processes and into the skills modules which are available throughout the provision, the curriculum. So again, I'm sure many of us are familiar with this. At Keele, this has been running since 2017, that all undergraduates engage with the questions that are possibly a little bit small there on the screen for you to see, but allows us to identify and then to link to their own planning for the future, the state of readiness around these areas of decide, plan, complete, compete and sorted. The next slide demonstrates how we translate that into then material that students work with. So against each of these areas of stages, if you like, of their own professional development, how well ready they are in terms of their decision making around career planning. Each of these areas then links to resources and planning that they can build up over the course of their study. And the next slide again demonstrates what that would look like for students who, for example, are clicking into resources that they can then work through and then build into their skills development module and work with their academic mentor to support their development. So these self-assessment tools and resources together enable them to build their professional development plan, which allows them to work through stages of their readiness for work. I think the next slide just demonstrates the kind of questions. Oh, sorry, no, I moved on to the next one, which link to each area of development. So then, yes, finally, or thirdly, the digital area. This is the third of the areas that we're looking at. Very excitingly, actually, this is really building on a long-standing approach that we've had to our commitment to measuring digital capabilities. We have developed at Keele our own platform, which is called My Skills Progress. You can see just a snapshot here, which launched just over a year ago, institution-wide. There had been piloted before then. So My Skills Progress is a tool, a mechanism whereby students can understand their progress with respect to their digital capabilities. It allows, through a set of questions, as we've got here, self-assessment, and then link to categories of resource that they build up. So the next slide, I think, will show the radar map that the report will provide on the basis of students' self-assessment of their skills and readiness around generally around their digital capabilities. And then the next slide will show again how for each of those areas there are resources that students can work through on the basis of their need, and this will link then to various sort of certified activities and the presentation reel, the curation of a digital portfolio, which students will then have around their skills development. So this My Skills Progress is actually, was already in place, and we were able to report on for our TEF submission. What we've decided to do is to expand My Skills Progress and the same kind of concept and framework for us to capture the fourth of those areas that I had on the original slide, of 4 areas that we're working on, and that is to build a picture of academic confidence and growth. So we're going to be, and this is where it's still work in progress, using the same structure and building it in through My Skills Progress to develop this strand around self-assessment and reassessment reporting and links to resources to measure students' confidence and growth around their academic expertise. Again, using My Skills Progress alongside the other mechanisms, as we said, career readiness, we're able to embed this both in the core curricula that we have focused on skills development, but also through the academic mentoring process to have an opportunity for that personalised discovery process, if you like, and planning that can go on an individual level. So
Just a minute to go, Chris.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm just wrapping up.
okay.
Last slide,
Perfect. Thank you.
actually. Yep, last slide really just sums up a few concluding thoughts. Firstly, that decision making about what is meaningful and reflecting what we feel is the mission for our students, and students themselves feel is important. That we've decided to build very much on existing processes. We've got plans to do more, but we're not over promising really in terms of the range of different tools that we can employ, and we want to keep it fairly simple and streamlined as something that we can build into our processes. So to make sure that that can be an institution-wide approach to tracking. So we've again focused very much on embedding those 4 areas very clearly in our core activity. And then finally, in terms of gains, looking to triangulate across other data sources, complementary data sources, to understand whether or not we are succeeding and how well we are succeeding in providing the gains for our students. So we use a number of external as well as internal surveys and records that we will use to complement our tracking of our students' progress. So I'm going to stop there because that's exactly where I wanted to finish, and I hope that just gives you a bit of a warts and all approach to how we're trying to approach educational gain from Kiel.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much, Chris. That's really nice. And I think it's
Thank
a lovely
you.
way to continue after today's presentation to give us that real example of what you were doing beforehand, what you're doing sort of since, and also those lessons learned. I think it's really quite nice to capture those, because I think that resonates with a lot of us in other institutions.